Welcome to the most listened to golf in the world, the Fairways of Life show, on air, online, and around the world, with the most candid interviews, unforgettable stories, taking you beyond the ropes. Here's your host, New York Times best-selling author, Matt Adams.
What is going on, folks? Welcome into the Fairways of Life show, PGA Championship Week Day 2. I want to go over the golf course a little bit with you this morning, talk about kind of the nature of the golf course, what we can expect from the course, and more. I want to go over odds with you today. I want to talk about the weather that we're expecting, because we were talking about that yesterday, 24 hours more behind us. Let's see what they're saying about that. A little bit about the history of the course, too, this venue, as it relates to the PGA Championship, but more kind of PGA of America, because remember, PGA of America owned this place for a while, bought pieces of it, then owned it, and then recently sold it. I think in 22 is when they sold their ownership in it. So we welcome one and all. Appreciate your company. If you're catching us on the YouTube channel today, we ask you two things. One is, if you're watching us, subscribe. And two, make sure you hit the like button and encourage people to hit the like button as much as you can, because all that stuff helps us in terms of growing this distribution. It is our smallest distribution. YouTube for us was basically for archiving the show. It's essentially how we still look at it, but all the experts are telling us, no, it can be so much more. You know, we've got our own syndicated show. I think you guys know that we syndicate the show, and that starts from weekends on our affiliates around the country. So I don't know where you're watching this from, if it's in the USA and where you live, but there's affiliates somewhere nearby that's carrying the show. And that goes to like 180 million homes when it's all said and done, with the primary air and re-airs and how that works. And then we have the distribution that we're doing on Golf Channel, and then we have our YouTube channel as our primary ones. On the audio side, we're everywhere. Wherever audio is, you can find us. But on the video side, the television side. So we're trying to be cognizant of that. We're trying to be, keeping with where people are going and consuming their product. What I love about the modern mediums is that, take, for example, we're talking about YouTube. You guys can see what you want, when you want, where you want, how you want, all of it. I think that's amazing that exists today. Whenever I talk to young kids and they're interested in podcasting or broadcasting or journalism, all the rest, and I'm like, you don't need to wait anymore. There was a time where you couldn't do anything unless, the man said you were ready. And traditionally, the way industry works, at least the media industry works, is you come in and basically work for nothing. And you work extremely hard, and you may slowly notch your way up. And usually, if it's a big media corporation, you're barred in how much more of a higher percentage you can get paid, right? That's the man. That's how the system is structured. And so most of those kids that are working there have to either pile up with a whole bunch of other kids in a house someplace to minimize their expenses, and almost all the time they're getting subsidized by their family. The family has to help them out in order to do the business. It's amazing, right? That because so much attention is paid towards media, and the amount of money that media spends on things such as rights fees, et cetera. But for kids coming into the industry, there's just not a lot of dough there, and they don't get paid a lot. And so they have to have help in doing it. Dom, when I did it when I was at ESPN, living with a bunch of people. Dom, when you were at ESPN, how many people were you living with in order just to get by, in order to have enough money to eat?
4 in one room.
4 in one room. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So,
in fact, side note, totally off the cuffs, got nothing to do with anything. But when I graduated from college, I was offered a job by ESPN, and I had to turn it down because it wasn't enough money for me to live and pay my student loans at the same time. And I told them that. I was like, I can't. Can you just give me like a little bit more just so I have enough to pay rent? And they were like, no. I was like, oh, man, I got to turn this down. So things have changed dramatically in the industry. Like you said, anybody can just start a YouTube page right now and just start practicing.
That's what I'm saying. I recommend that kids all the time. If you're not, I said, you're going to make mistakes. Anyone starts anything, You're not going to be an expert at it right away, but it gives you a forum where you can try and learn and make mistakes and get better. When I first started up there, I was living at home. We lived about 45 minutes away, roughly, and my dad was a CPA. My dad was an accountant, and I was getting paid. So numbers meant something. That's what I'm getting at. I was getting paid below the poverty line at the job, and he was shaking his head, going, "How can they do this?" And I said, "Because if I didn't take the job and Dom didn't take the job, there's 1,000 other kids lined up or more behind it to do it because of their dreams." So it's unbelievable. All right, so you heard me mention the weather. Where do we stand, Dom, in terms of the weather forecast? Any updates on what to expect this week at the PGA Championship? There it is, revealed.
Yes, that is the update right there. Showers are sort of in and around what's going on this week. It's going to be wet. It's going to be probably relatively soft, especially the rough will be a challenge. And we have a guest coming up here shortly who I have no doubt will be able to give us more insight on that side of things. But you can see right there, they're going to get a half an inch of rain roughly tomorrow, and they're going to get almost an inch of rain on Friday and a little bit more on Saturday. So
80% on Friday.
Yeah,
pre-cut.
Not ideal situation there. And, the wind is not nothing. 10 to 15 miles per hour in addition to those things is not great. And the temperatures are going to be probably, when it says a high of 75, a high of 80, but the rain cools that stuff off. So I think we're looking at high 60s, low 70s for a majority of the event. On the plus side, you can see there on Sunday that the weather looks spectacular for the final round. There's also expected to be rain coming in on Monday. So hopefully we're not going to have any issues with delays on Friday and Saturday that might cause some issues with.
Well, you're looking at,
but I think they're in, they're pop-up storms. It'll be
yeah.
all right.
You're looking at Sunday is mostly sunny and warm. So if there's 80% chance of weather coming in on Friday, there's a good chance that they're not going to cut until sometime Saturday morning. But there's showers chance on Saturday, so it's going to be wet, which would be really interesting when those storms come in. Do they have to, how do they play it? Do they play it down, et cetera? And then, Dom, you've got what is the official forecast? I love the official forecast because it's always
I can
much
read
better.
It. I'll read it.
Like the national weather forecast would be
listen,
like 80% chance of rain. The official forecast is like, well, there's about 20% that we might get a passing shower.
I am clearly a meteorologist, so this is coming from the heart here. Extended forecast. This is prepared by PGA Tour meteorologist Stuart Williams. This is the official.
Oh.
The low pressure system will be slowly moving east away from the area as we go through the day Wednesday. This will keep scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms across through the day before tapering off Wednesday evening. Drier weather returns Thursday before another low pressure system brings showers and thunderstorms back to the region Friday into Saturday morning, with the potential for more heavy rainfall at times. Dry weather returns Saturday afternoon and continues into Sunday with warmer temperatures in the 80s. So that, coupled with what you see on the screen there, Friday looks to be the day, Matt, when we might have some issues with play, some stoppages, but I think it'll be okay. What I think is more interesting and more likely is that the effect this is going to have on the field and the golf course and the draw. It'll be interesting to see the tee times because I do think that this will affect the draw. I wonder which side of it you would rather be on, Matt.
It depends on how much rain they're going to get. On Thursday, I don't think it makes a difference of what side of the draw you're on because even as you noted, the wind up to 15 miles per hour is very manageable for those guys. So I don't think it matters too much. So if you're late on Thursday, that means you're going to be early on Friday. And it isn't clear to me on Friday when those storms are going to hit. The the one that I'm looking at says showers and thunderstorms likely. So it looks like it's kind of an all-day thing. So I don't know what to tell you in that. So that if you play late on on Thursday, early on Friday, you may have a long day because you may be getting start and stopped. Depending on how bad it is, if you play early on Thursday, you may not play again until Saturday morning. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but here's the question I have for you. Would you rather play late on Thursday, come back early Friday, knowing that conditions will be ideal because it will have not rained yet? However, you might be some stoppages at the end, or the end of your round, you might be hit with a little bit of stoppages. Or would you rather be in late morning, afternoon on Friday? You're going to be dealing with stoppages all day, but in theory, you're going to have softer conditions when you're playing, correct?
Yes, and you're probably going to have softer
conditions. It'll be
conditions.
stop and go, but it'll be super soft conditions for you.
Yeah, and you're probably going to have to finish on Saturday, and you're going to have soft conditions on Saturday too, because the course would have had a deluge of rain upon it, so there's only so much they can do, no matter how good the drainage engineering is. And yet there's still chances of
you think that might
showers.
be an advantage then for those players. If
Yes.
you're teeing off early Thursday, late Friday, you're going to deal with more stoppages, but you'll likely have a softer golf course.
Well, you don't know what kind of stoppages you're going to deal with compared to the other half. They could be dealing with just as much. But yes, that would be my sense. All right, so just general information about Valhalla. Valhalla was built in 1986. It was designed by Jack Nicklaus. The name, as you probably know, is named after the Norse hall for slain warriors. They're there under the watchful eye of the god Odin. The property does not have a huge amount of elevation changes. 60 feet is the most that it has from one to the other. 62 bunkers. The greens, though, are all kind of perched up. They're all kind of built up, the surfaces. There are those streams that run through the property, and as much as possible, Jack Nicklaus and his team use those to kind of define fairways, etc. This year's course is going to play 151 yards longer than in 2014. So the total yardage is 7,609 to a par of 71, which means effectively it's playing even longer than that. This I found when I was doing research last night about the stuff I wanted to feature for you, and it was a pretty good synopsis, I thought, from PGAtour.com. And this is part of their article that they had about Valhalla, where they said 3 key holes. The 4th hole. 372-yard par 4 normally plays as a layup off the tee to a tightly bunkered fairway and then a wedge to a well-guarded green. But the PGA's chief championship officer, Kerry Haig, has indicated that the tees will probably be moved up at some point, in which case many players will tempt what amounts to a 305-yard carry to the green, making the hole drivable, brings Floyd's Fork, which is one of those streams I was talking about, into play left of the putting surface. Hole number 6. This 495-yard par 4 will likely be the toughest hole all week. Players have to back off on a driver because the fairway ends at 295 yards, bisected by Floyd's Fork. It is a 340-yard carry past trees and creek to reach the other side. Modesty off the tee leaves most players with 200 yards remaining to a perched green that falls off steeply on the left, misses the fairway off the tee, and par becomes very elusive. Hole number 13. This is a 351-yard par 4. It's Valhalla's most photographed hole for obvious reasons. For those of you on the TV side, they can see the beautiful island-like green. Placed from an elevated tee to a densely bunkered fairway, the approach is hit to a fortress of an island green that has absolutely no support around it. You either hit the 5,662 square foot green or you are in the water. The risk-reward ratio is extremely high, so everyone rationally lays up off the tee and then tries to hit the green with a wedge. The hole was recently excavated anew to expose its supportive limestone and adjoining waterfall. It is quite the spectacle. Now, in terms of the history at this property, stout. First PGA Championship was held in 1996. You remember that was the one where Mark Brooks won in a playoff over Louisville native Kenny Perry. The 2000 PGA Championship was no less historic. Tiger Woods, remember, in that aggregate playoff over Bob May. And if you recall, That was the third leg of the Tiger Slam. 2004 Senior PGA Championship, Hale Irwin by 1 stroke over Jay Haas. 2008 Ryder Cup became a template of sorts. That was Paul Lasinger's team, and they defeated Nick Faldo's European side 16.5 to 11.5. The 2011 Senior PGA Championship kept very impressive names rolling in their majors. Tom Watson in a playoff over David Eager. 2014 PGA Championship, of course, saw Rory McIlroy take down Phil Mickelson by 1 stroke. Pretty impressive history. Indeed. All right, so when we come back, we're going to be joined by a special guest live from Louisville that will be very much a part of the coverage coming up over the next couple of days. That, as we continue, the PGA Tour Superstore is the presenting sponsor of the Fairways of Life show. If you need it, they've got it inside of those big, beautiful stores. If you swing it, if you wear it, if you need to learn from it. And best of all, I believe, are their people. You can shop with the pros and know you're getting expert advice at your happy place.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
In Ireland, golf is more than just a game. Come and experience our world-famous links courses and our world-famous Parkland courses, all set alongside world-famous scenery. And visit our world-famous historic sites. And while you're here, enjoy our world-famous hospitality. Fill your heart with Ireland at ireland.com/golf.
Ben Hogan Golf Equipment is back. Established in 1953, we serve golfers who demand excellence of their equipment. Designed by the game's best engineers, forged in the world's best foundries, and built to order in the USA. Don't settle for off-the-rack disappointment. Elevate your game with custom clubs at direct-to-consumer pricing. Exclusively at benhogangolf.com. That's benhogangolf.com.
The Gen 6 iron is a culmination of everything that we have learned as a team, the absolute best golf club I've ever hit. It's something special. Say hello to the new PXG Gen 6 iron. The longest, most accurate irons we've ever made. They go higher and farther than any iron that I have hit to date, and they're so easy to hit. Super excited for the consumer to try this. They're gonna love them.
PXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Baseball? Nah. Football? Done it. I think I'm going to go after the PGA Tour.
Playing on the PGA Tour is not easy. But you know what is easy? Getting the 524 series from Tour Edge.
Getting linebackers and home runs used to be easy.
Out here, you're going to need all the easy you can get. Introducing the 524 series from Tour Edge. The easiest clubs you'll ever hit. Even the best players in the world can use a little easy.
I like the sound of that. Look out, PGA Tour.
Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
Boyne Golf provides the ultimate world-class golf destination with 10 championship-caliber courses spanning 3 resorts. Centered in Michigan's northern Lower Peninsula, the courses are the products of some of the game's masters, including Robert Trent Jones Sr., Arthur Hills, and Donald Ross. From the all-inclusive vacation packages, elite instruction with the Boyne Golf Academy, tournaments, and so much more, Boyne Golf truly offers an unrivaled Michigan golf vacation experience. Just log on to BoyneGolf.com. As we welcome you back to the Fairways of Life Show PGA Championship Week, Matt Adams here with you, welcoming your company from wherever you are joining us around the globe today. We are delighted to be joined by Matt Barrie from ESPN. You know him from hosting Sports Center as well as many, many other shows, including those which you've seen during the football season. This week he'll be doing his Sports Center duties as well as featured hole coverage, holes 13, 14, and 18. He will be hosting a practice round show. That is scheduled Eastern time from noon to 3 p.m. today. We'll be talking to him more about that as well, but it's a pleasure to always talk to Matt. That featured or that practice round show is going to be ESPN Plus, by the way, folks, just to make sure I note that correctly, because there are a lot of different places, Matty. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. There are a lot of different places where your programming is like, I started looking through it last night, dude. It is so vast. There is so much coverage, and it starts so early and goes so late. I mean, for golf junkies, it's pretty much perfect.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, right? You get all these options, and you're like, well, wait a second, which option am I going to choose? I'm going to be on TV when it starts, I believe, at noon, and then you've got all the ESPN options, the featured groups, and the featured holes. But it really is, that's why I love the PGA Championship so much, is because they give you so many opportunities to watch really from the first tee shot here early Thursday morning till the final ball goes in the hole Thursday night. It's that way throughout the week. And so it really is a good way to hop into the second major championship of the year with, I mean, just look at those, like 7-8. What's better than coffee golf? And then we give you lunch golf. Then we give you happy hour golf. Then we give you dinner golf. Oh. I mean, we've got your whole day covered. It's perfect, man.
I absolutely love it. And then you take your significant other out for dinner someplace, and you're sitting at the table and you angle yourself in a way so you can see the TV screen. Are you listening to me? Or are you watching? No, yeah, I heard everything that you said. Yeah, exactly.
The random fist pump while you're eating. What are you excited about? Honey, I'm just excited about that appetizer order. It was so good. Oh,
so good. Yeah, that dress looks great. So this PGA Championship, we're living in this world of, it's like the dichotomy of golf, because golf at the 99.99% level, right? The recreational golf has never been better. It's absolutely booming, never been better. Professional golf, the tours in terms of where they're going, their relationships with each other, has never been in more chaos than it is right now. And in the middle of all that right now, we have this PGA Championship with all these incredible storylines, right? You got Scottie coming in, won his last event. You got Rory coming in, won his last 2 events. You got Brooks coming in, won his last event. You've got, the field is so strong. When it swirls around you guys in ESPN and all that coverage that we were just talking about, of which that's just a fraction of that we were showing you, it's like a perfect storm for you guys. I mean, are you feeling that same kind of buzz? Are you feeling that kind of excitement there?
You know, we are, because I think going in, Matt, who's not going to be excited for a major championship? You know, Scottie wins the Masters. There's kind of almost a foregone conclusion with how big of a favorite he was coming in. And you could say that looking at the odds right now, that he's obviously the betting favorite, one of the biggest we've seen since Tiger back in the heyday. But where this one changes for me and for us and for everyone, as I said this yesterday on TV, and I'm going to say it again, for me, the math on this major championship changed when Rory won on Sunday. Well, why is that? Because it's been Scottie Scheffler's golf world. The rest of us have been living it. And Liv has been over playing their tournaments overseas. The Stars have been playing well there, as you mentioned, with Brooks Koepka winning in Singapore. And so he comes into here in good form. But when Rory won, it gave us that element of superstar power coming into this week that I think a lot of us were thinking, well, it's just going to be another Scottie Scheffler domination. It's just going to be another foregone conclusion that he's going to win. So you take everything that's going on between Brooks is in good form. Now, Scottie's been off for a few weeks now. You can't discount that. In fact, I was very adamant about it yesterday that I think that Rory McIlroy should be coming into this tournament as the betting favorite because he's won his last 2 starts. He comes in here to a place that he won his last major championship in 2014, which to me, it is still amazing. It's been a decade since that guy's won a major, but he did it here. And if you look at the parallel back to 2014, I know this doesn't mean much, but if you're into stories like we are at TV, he won his prior 2 starts coming into coming into Valhalla in 2014. And so now you're giving me, Matt, Rory, who appears to be back at the height of his powers, Scottie Scheffler, the unquestioned number 1 player in the world, and Brooks Koepka, the defending champion, in form. I mean, what else could you want? And look, there was a big debate yesterday as you show Scottie and his newborn son. Congratulations, Scottie and Meredith. I mean, we all knew it happened, and it wasn't official until it was made official. And so now we can put Scottie Babygate to bed. We know the baby's here. We know Scottie's here. Rory's going to get here at some point today. I talked with Brooks for a little bit yesterday. I mean, this is a really, really good opportunity for golf to put the BS aside, which I think a lot of these players do once they step foot together at the same grounds in a major championship. And we're going to see world-class golf at a world-class course. I walked the thing yesterday, all 18. I'm just telling you, this place is in mint condition. and the best players in the world are going to be here to attack it.
Let's talk about the place for just a second so I don't forget, because there's a number of different roads I want to go down with you, Matt. Valhalla, a Jack Nicklaus designed golf course. They continue to tweak it. How do you like it as a venue for a major championship?
I think for a major championship, it is really, really taking the use of a huge plot of land in an absolute spectacular course and finding a way to put the humans in here, some 200,000, and making it as intimate as you can make a large plot of land, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Because when you walk this thing, it is so vast, it is so big, it is so beautiful, and you don't see many grandstands. They're there, but they're not prevalent like you see at some other tournaments. And so they find a way to wedge people in here around world-class golf. To me, this is one of my favorite major championship venues because it's so unique in how it's laid out relative to some places we've seen before. I mean, this place hosted a Ryder Cup. You know the math by now. 4 PGA Championships. The PGA Championships here that have been hosted, the 4 of them have been decided by 1 stroke or less or in a playoff. And so it's done something right to give us drama with the way that they've made some changes. They changed the grass, which a lot of fairway grass, which a lot of players were talking about yesterday. And so I think you're in for the type of golf that we want to see, which is really, really good, with the opportunity to make mistakes, with multiple opportunities to make decisions, and I can't wait.
Short of a player coming into the interview room today and saying that, I pulled my back out or something that would cause you to go, whoa, they're obviously dealing with something major. Does it matter what you hear in a pre-event? I'm not just talking golf now, because I'm tapping into your broad spectrum of sports expertise. When you have an athlete come in before an event and he addresses the media, and there's always kind of platitudes and they're always kind of hiding a little bit. That's just the nature of it. Why should they reveal? But does it matter to you when you hear that? Does it make any difference with something that you hear in that room, short of what I said, an injury revelation?
It's a great question because I pride myself on trying to find something in everything, if that makes sense. And there's the players and the coaches. I mean, there's coach speak. There's a reason it's called coach speak. And there are times where there's certainly messages that have been put out there. Like, I believe, I'm looking at this graphic you've got up right now with a really busy day of press conferences. Let's take Jon Rahm, for instance, at the Masters. You could tell from Rahm when he was up there at the podium that he was out and set to prove that the decision that he made was best for him and that he still is going to prove to the world that he's a competitive player, a world-class player. He didn't say that, but you could tell that's what he wanted to get across. And so I think there are players today. Tiger's going to give the standard. If I didn't think I could win, I wouldn't be here. He's at noon Eastern. So we know what Tiger's going to say. Spieth will get asked about the career Grand Slam. I think he'll downplay that in his wrist a little bit. Rahm, again, will have something to prove. And then really the first guy that I see up there today that's really going to want to make a statement is Brooks Koepka. Yeah. Because Brooks is one of those players, he's very honest when he wants to be. And when he came out and said that after the Masters, when he got his butt kicked at Augusta, he knew he wasn't ready to compete amongst the world's best and that it was time to get in that type of condition and that type of shape. Well, what did he do? He went out and won in Singapore, and he's the defending champ. And so he's one of those guys that you can tell right away. I mean, he gave us that famous, I don't forget how many years ago it was now, where he did the math equation of why he would win a major because he went through the field and whittled it down to 80 aren't just going to play well, 30 I'm just better than, and he went down to the point, so really I only have to compete with 5 guys. That is an all-time answer from a 5-time major champion. And so if you really do listen to some of these players that I believe that want to get their message across but also don't want to get too much out, you can parse the words and say, oh, that's what he's telling you. And I think we'll get a little bit of that today.
It's interesting with the way you mentioned that, Matt, because when it comes to Brooks, he reminds me of Jordan-like in channeling that chip. He's even admitted that at times he has to make it up, just like Jordan did in terms of being angry about something. But along the same lines, the motivation, along those same lines, you mentioned Rory McIlroy. Maybe he said he kind of found something with Shane at the Zurich Classic of New Orleans. Last week, he asserted himself. We saw Rory, in fairness, and you mentioned it. We saw Rory last week that we haven't seen in a while, right? Yeah. This guy gets maybe since the Scottish Open, but on a bigger platform. And I wonder if you called it the BS he's going through. Rory says, yeah, I'll come back on the board if you guys want me to. I think I can help you, give you a global perspective, another opinion. And they're like, no, we don't want you. Then he gets put on whatever they call it, the transitional committee or whatever that negotiating committee is called. And I'm just wondering if we're not looking at a Rory McIlroy that's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Do you perceive that?
Oh, Matt, 1,000%. Here's how I'm looking at Rory McIlroy at this point. First of all, I've gotten in debates with people about this, and I'll throw this at you and then answer the question. But I believe, and this is taking nothing away from Brooks, who's a major championship robot and at any point the best player in the world. This is to say nothing of Scottie Scheffler, who statistically right now is putting up stats that we haven't seen since Tiger's heyday. This isn't saying anything from John Rahm when he had his run at number one. But I still believe this to be true, that if Rory McIlroy is at the height of his powers and the height of his game, I still believe he's the best player on the planet. When he's on all cylinders, when everything's working, he's the best player on the planet. And I think everything that Rory's been through, I believe Rory looked at his last 400 plus days of his life and his golf life. And he's sitting there and he's like, you know what? I basically threw away a year of competition. Even though I was competitive in the US Open in LA last year, he was competitive in the major championships. I believe he thinks that he threw away a year of his life to fight for something that ended up, in his words and in his mind, making him a sacrificial lamb.
Yeah.
Once kind of that burden was gone, he's like, you know what? I need to get back to what got me to this point, to be this great world-class player. I need to go back to the golf. I need to get back to the golf. I can shed all of this pressure now because I did what I said that I was going to do and it still wasn't good enough. And so now Rory, he's very honest about the fact that someone in his peer group in Brooks Koepka passed him with 5 major championships. That sticks with him. He didn't like that. And so he knew that to sync all of this up, which is to get rid of some of his iron struggles. He hadn't been great with the irons until recently. The driver was kind of wonky. What does that lead to? It leads to a non-confident putter. And so now that little by little, he shed the weight of being the spokesperson. He's kind of in his own little silo right now. He's got the confidence back with the irons. There isn't anybody in the world that drives the ball better than him when he's got the driver going. You combine all of that plus coming to the last place where you won your last major championship, of which you've been vocal about the last decade of the 40 players that have won majors that haven't been you. I think you're going to see Rory come into this one. And by the way, the Rory pressure of the Masters, that exists because of the career Grand Slam. People are talking about the pressure this week. Well, what pressure? The guy's won 2 in a row. He knows how to win here. It's clear that he's figured something out. The only pressure now is going to be on some of the guys that have to go catch him. If he has the driver working at this place, which, by the way, it's a long course. They've added 150 yards. It's hilly. You know the walk by now. It's a good place for him to play. If the driver is what we saw last week at Quail Hollow, I don't think there is any reason whatsoever not to believe that Rory McIlroy come Sunday will be not only on the lead or in the final pairing, but he'll be within striking distance of any of that major championship drought, because I really believe there's something different about him right now.
If I gave you Brooks, Scottie, and Rory, or the field, what would you take?
Brooks, Scottie, and Rory. I had this conversation with someone yesterday, and they only gave me 2. I was like, with 2, I'm not taking it. You give me the big 3. You give me the 3 guys that have won coming in. I'll take those 3, and I'll give you the field, because Scottie showed up yesterday. I was just watching him on the range, just watching him some practice. And the guy just shows up, and it's just perfect. And then I can tell, I've been around Brooks enough to where I can tell when he's got that look, and he's got that demeanor, and he's got that way about him. And then we haven't seen Rory yet. I'm sure when we get out to the course today, we'll find out when he's supposed to be here. He's not scheduled to talk till Wednesday, so we'll find out with some dicey weather coming in today. But I just those 3. We're in a sweet spot in golf in that you've got 3 selected stars. Now, look, you gave me 3 world-class players. Could Ludwig Oberg come out? Sure. Could Xander Schauffele shake off some demons? Sure. Colin Morikawa is a very accurate driver. He could do something here. There's a lot of players that could come around here. There's some conversation, some bubbling up about maybe this is Max Homa's moment. But if you give me those top 3 guys that we're looking at in those PGA Championship odds with, by the way, Matt, I can tell you on 3 things right now. Scottie, what's there for Scottie to prove? win the first 2 major championships of the year, prove that having a baby in the 3-week layoff isn't going to do anything to his world number 1 ranking. Check. Here's his motivation. Rory McIlroy, we just detailed his motivation. Check. Brooks Koepka. He wants to win back-to-back PGA championships for a second time, wants to prove that the Masters was a fluke. And oh, by the way, regardless if I'm playing in Singapore or Australia, I'm still the best guy out here. Check. Yeah, I'll take those 3 guys. You can have the field, and I still feel confident going into Thursday morning.
How important do you think, Matt, this week is for the game of golf at its highest competitive levels with ratings for golf live coverage steadily going down? The Masters was 20% down, et cetera. How important is this week that we've got the whole party together? We've got these great storylines. We've got ESPN starting us with a massive window of coverage. So it's where you want to be, when you want it to be there, however you want to get it. Is all of that a litmus test for where the fans are and whether they are fed up with what you were calling the BS?
Yeah, look, the fans are fed up, and we know that. I believe it's important if the storylines show up. And what do I mean by that? I mean, we can do our job in the media and really put out there why this week is going to be amazing. Well, if that doesn't manifest itself, it's not going to do anything to the viewer. But if you're turning on Thursday and Friday and the guys that we just mentioned, maybe sprinkling that guy Tiger we've all heard of, you sprinkle him in there, maybe a Jordan Spieth finds something this week. And all of a sudden, these names that we loved from a few years ago when they were all going at it on tour, if they start coming up the leaderboard and you're looking at that leaderboard Thursday and Friday night going to the weekend, you're like, oh my gosh, that thing is loaded. Then it's going to start making people be a little bit, I know this sounds dramatic, but nostalgic of how it was a few years ago where the world's best are there. Then you've got a collision of personalities. And I'm telling you that going into Sunday, if it's a Rory McIlroy, Brooks Koepka in the final group, if it's a Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm in the final group, that's the tipping point for golf. Because that's the moment when the spokesman for the PGA Tour takes on one of the stars of LIV, and that will give everyone a little bit of an appetizer of, hey, you know what? Let's just all get in a room and figure this out, because I want to be glued to my TV for 5 hours watching this final pairing of Rory McIlroy, Brooks, Rory McIlroy, Rahm, Scottie Scheffler, Brooks, Scottie Scheffler, whatever the case might be. Give me one of the PGA Tour superstars, one of the world-class players against 1 or 2 of the best LIV guys. That to me is where we all sit back and say, okay, can we just figure this out? I know how you feel about LIV. Great. 54-hole shotgun start, no cut. They wear shorts. Great. Got it. PGA Tour, get it. When it's not one of the stars, the leaderboard hasn't been great this year. Okay, fine. Everyone's points have been made. Get in a room and figure it out. And I think that's where golf fans, you got to be careful though. Because if we get teased with that for one weekend and then we have to wait for the next major championship, you're going to lose the momentum. And so, yes, you can gain a lot of momentum. This week's big for the sport of golf because it's different than the Masters, with the Masters being an invitational. This is big. This is a big week. And if the stars show up, you can see that inflection point coming, especially with all this news coming out about people resigning. And it's a big week.
That inflection point, that tipping point that Matt was talking about, of course, will be brought to the boil by ESPN and their massive coverage that they have coming up. Now, for Matt, it starts today at noon Eastern time on ESPN Plus. And Matt, we'll wrap you up here, and thank you very much for all the time you've given us. But I do want to ask you before you go, what will you be doing today with that 3-hour block of time? What can we expect to see on ESPN Plus with the pregame show? I guess you're officially calling it the practice day show, right? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, practice rounds at the PGA Championship. And well, look, I'm not a weather guy by trade, but I will be looking at the radar throughout the afternoon just to make sure that hopefully we don't get any electricity or any bad weather, because typically what happens in these shows, if you're a golf fan, they're amazing to watch, because we put Andy North out on the course. He walks with a number of the players during their practice rounds. And it's almost as if we've all watched the golf broadcast by now where they have a live talk back with the player during the round. We do that for the duration of the practice rounds and talk with these players during the rounds, walk the course. You get a really really invasive look at the players as they prep it in the course as it stands now. We've got Michael Collins. He'll be out on the practice range where the players are getting ready. He'll talk to them as they're coming on and off the practice range. So it's really kind of a, hey, let's get involved with the players. Let's get involved with the course. I've got Jeff Ogilvy with me on set. I've got Curtis Strange with me on set. And we just break down everything Valhalla top to bottom as these players are getting ready for the major championship. And look, Tuesdays are a little bit – yesterday was pretty loose. The guys were out here getting ready. Tuesday, they'll start ramping it up a little bit. It's a little more serious today. So we hope the weather holds up. And if the weather doesn't hold up, then I would bet we just talk Valhalla hole 1 to 18, some of the best memories, some of the changes, how this course is going to play, what type of player it fits. But it really is. Look, and by the way, if you haven't put any bets in yet, if you're trying to figure out who to put on your fantasy team or anything like that, we get into the players that this course fits. And so we'll make the adjustment no matter what. But if you're a golf fan, 12-3 today, it's a fun show to watch.
You got us. We will be there. Say hi to Michael and the Curtis and Andy for us as well. Matt, we love having you on. Thank you very, very much for all the time that you've given us today. Hope you have fun this week, and we're very much looking forward to all the coverage that ESPN will be providing.
Matt, anytime. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the tournament this week.
Good to see you. All right, folks, when we come back at the Fairways of Life show, we will be continuing to talk about all of those things that Matt just touched on, including the odds. Where are they right? Where are they wrong? Where would you invest? We'll be back with more.
I got ball fit in 2000, went on a little run. Then Bridgestone fit me again, and I went on another run. I just got fit again for the new Tour BX. The ball fitting's been helping me. Will it help you?
Boyne Golf provides the ultimate world-class golf destination with 10 championship-caliber courses spanning 3 resorts. Centered in Michigan's northern Lower Peninsula, the courses are the products of some of the game's masters, including Robert Trent Jones Sr., Arthur Hills, and Donald Ross. From the all-inclusive vacation packages, elite instruction with the Boyne Golf Academy, tournaments, and so much more, Boyne Golf truly offers an unrivaled Michigan golf vacation experience. Just log on to BoyneGolf.com.
I think when you're training for other sports, or why most people go to the gym is so that they can have muscles and be strong and be healthy. And a lot of the reason why they struggle to play golf is their body doesn't move properly for them to be able to hit a golf ball. And when you're training for golf, it's a little bit different because you're focused more on flexibility and mobility and being strong in motion. When you're able to kind of have a warm up and have a workout routine and kind of gradually build up to where you're training your body to move properly, you're going to get a lot of big dividends on the golf course.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
What if we started a company and the company was under no time constraints, no financial constraints? The one constraint is their clubs had to be exceptional performers and much better than any other alternative. I was told time and again it'll never work. It worked like a house of fire. And I'll tell you what, I think our customers love it. BXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Stride by Zero Friction, the first of its kind personal caddy. Walk in comfort and style with Stride's remote and follow me technology. The Stride handles almost any terrain, and its 54-hole range will last all day. The lightweight design and removable front wheels makes it simple to handle. Plus, it easily fits golf carts. Pick up your Stride today at a local PGA Tour Superstore near you or at zerofriction.com/Stride. Stride, your personal caddy.
Tuesday, PGA Championship week. Welcome back to the Fairways of Life show. Thanks to Matt Barrie from ESPN for joining us. I love Dom. I love the fact that it's a major championship and we don't have anybody lording over us telling us how much coverage we should get or shouldn't get. You can get as much as you choose to consume. You want to be gluttonous? Be gluttonous. I mean, shouldn't that be how...
Gluttonous.
Yeah. What was your question of the day, by the way?
Question of the day was, how gluttonous are you going to be? How do you consume your majors? Do you watch them on traditional TV? Do you stream them? Use a streaming service? Do you just watch all this stuff on your phone? Or is it kind of a mixture? And the answer so far is a mixture of all of those things.
Gotta be. Yeah,
30% traditional TV, 32% streaming, 30% mixture, and only 8% on the phone. So no one is consuming any one thing one way. Everything is just a mixture these days, which is interesting.
Yeah.
The answer to that question
phone's a lot
8
lower
years
than I
ago was just TV.
Well, of course it would have been, yeah. But, it's a different world that we live in now. That's what I'm saying. I love the fact that we were just talking to Matt about they're doing a 3-hour show. 3 hours actually on the grounds. And because they're a broadcast rights holder, they're going to have Andy North out there walking on the golf course talking to the players. He said Michael is going to be interviewing players as they're on the range, which is perfect. I'm very excited about all of the coverage, and I'm really excited about Andrew. Could you put that up there for us again, because the hours are unbelievable. I love the way that Matt Barrie was talking about it. It's like coffee in the morning. Like, I'll be honest with you, I am so excited about this major. Part of the reason I'm so excited about it is because I didn't have to be there in person, which probably sounds opposite to most people, but when I don't have to be at an event, I get excited because that means I'm hanging at home, consuming it the same way that you guys are. From beginning to end, absolutely love it. When I was told, no, we need you in studio for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, fine. No problem. Happy to do it. Thursday from 7 a.m. ESPN Plus. And we have ESPN Plus because we got Disney Plus, because we got it in the package with Hulu and the whole thing. So we got it. ESPN then, for those of you that, traditional cable and say, I only have ESPN, it's on for 8 hours. And this doesn't even have the dedicated coverage. Whether it's featured holes or featured groups or whatever. We're not even listing that yet. We couldn't fit it all on a board. I don't know whether Andrew's challenged by that. He's working on it for tomorrow. We'll see. Another thumbs up he just gave me. So I'm totally pumped for it. Cannot wait for all of the coverage that kicks off. And I think Matt's right about the fact that, the Masters is the Masters. And we love the Masters partly because of how unique it is. But this one doesn't have that feel. And it's a progression for the next three. You've got the PGA Championship, right, which has a huge field by comparison and different avenues of access into it. Then we go from here to the U.S. Open. And the U.S. Open has qualifiers going on, started already, where if you think you're good enough to play, go do it. Go qualify. And then we end it all with the Open, which to me is the world's major. I love it. I love the progression of these next three and what they represent and who we get to see. And all those storylines that we were talking about. There are a lot of storylines going on. But the odds, in terms of who people think the favorite are, favorites plural, you can see Scottie, Scheffler, and Rory McIlroy at the top of that list. I think there's even on that list, and that's only partial because we couldn't fit everybody up there. I think Bryson at 30-1, people are kind of sleeping on him. I think Wyndham Clark and Max Homa at 35-1, people are kind of sleeping on them. Justin Thomas at 35-1, I think those odds are too good. Tiger with tighter odds than Phil makes no sense to me. But I get it that, Dom was saying yesterday, people put down a couple of bucks, just because it's Tiger, and that impacts it. Okay. But I think Cam Smith is another one that people are sleeping on. My opinion. Jason Day, Dom, what do you here? Give me some odds here. You've got the full odds list. Let me throw.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Cam Smith, Matt, because Cam Smith was 40-1, and he was not pictured there. But in the last 24 hours, for one reason or another, his odds have improved to the point where he would be on this list. Most betting houses have him between 30 and 35-1 right now. I'm talking about Cameron Smith. So he's moved into this pile of guys that we're looking at here. Another name that has sort of moved into this pile randomly, that was not on the list prior, is Tommy Fleetwood, who's about 35-1 right now. Interesting. Unexpected. Same thing with Victor Hovland. He's 40-1, 35-1 on the tail end of those odds. He's starting to rear his head a little bit. And so is Will Zalatoris. Same thing, around 40, 45-1, depending on what you're looking at. So it's interesting. Not pictured as Jordan
the latter
Spieth,
ones you just said,
whose odds are not great.
Yeah, not doing anything for him. But Cam Smith at 40-1, I would have liked to have got in on that party at 41 for sure. How about Jason Day? Where's Jay Day?
Jason Day is about 45-1 right now.
Okay, I think that's good. What about Sam Burns?
Sam Burns. Good question. Let's see. 70-1.
70-1.
Yes.
That's another one that I think be worth a good look at. There's little doubt about that. So I was excited about a lot.
Let me ask you a betting question. Hold on. We never talk about really betting on this show. It's not something we discuss.
Well, we don't bet.
Yeah, no, we would never bet. I would never bet. But here's the question. Considering how well Rory, Brooks, and Scottie are playing.
Yeah.
If you had a pile of money, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you had $500 to bet on the PGA Championship.
Okay.
Would you be more likely to make money if you spread that out over 10 guys? Or if you just put it in those, pick one or two of those guys. Put 200 down on Rory, 200 down on Scottie. Because remember, their odds are short, right? Scottie's 4.5 to win.
Right.
But if you're putting money down on Jason Day, you're going to get a lot for that money if he plays well or if he wins. So do you think you're more likely to make money spreading it out or dumping it into these guys that you think are going to win?
Spreading it out. But you're still dumping it into a relatively small group.
What do you mean? What's a relatively small group?
10 players. If you did 10 players, I'm not saying that I did this, but if you did 10 players and you did, say, depending on where you did your betting, say you did €20 each way, what you're betting what?
Nothing.
You're betting €20 that they're going to win, but you're betting another €20 that they're going to have a top 10. Right? So you get
Is there a player in this field that you will right now on the record guarantee will finish in the top 10? Any player. It could be Rory. Is there a player that you will guarantee that this guy's going to top 10? He'll probably win, but he's guaranteed to finish in top 10.
The problem is I have more than one. So if you were like, you got to have one player, I think Scottie Scheffler and Brooks Koepka.
Give me the list. Give me the
Scottie,
3 or 4 or 5
Scottie
people.
And Brooks. No, Scottie and Brooks are my two. I think they're guaranteed.
You think they're
top
guaranteed to finish in the top 10?
I think they're guaranteed top 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But you're not willing to guarantee that Rory McIlroy is going to finish in the top 10.
No, because Rory's for a positive reason though. I think that Rory has a very aggressive mindset. I'm not saying that Brooks doesn't, obviously. That's Brooks. But Brooks seems to be able to channel his way to a top 10. I think that Rory McIlroy is going into this with a mindset that this is my event to win, which is great, which is what I'm not saying Brooks doesn't have that mindset. I'm just saying that Brooks is always aggressive. I think Rory has a renewed aggressiveness about him. Just like I said to Matt Barrie a little bit ago, that I think we're seeing from Rory McIlroy something that we haven't seen in a long time. Rory said in his press conference the other day, sound that we featured here, that, what was happening with it when things got slow for you, what happened? Well, he said, part of it was technical. That was his word. Part of it was technical. And I've talked about this with a lot of different tour pros that are friends of mine, and what I thought I saw in his swing, Andrew, come back to me for a second. What I thought I saw in his swing, at the top of his swing, Rory's always been a little bit cupped and slightly across the line or close to it. And he had gotten more cupped and more, as a result, upright and slightly across the line and kind of stuck when he was coming down. And if you've noticed, Rory is not doing that as much right now. So when he tends to do it, he tends to lose it left, which he was doing more of. When he tends to do that and gets steep, he tends to have trouble controlling his high lofted irons. The Rory that we're seeing right now is not doing that as much. I also think the Rory that we're seeing right now is motivated. I think he's motivated to let his clubs do the talking. You don't want him to talk in a boardroom? Fine. I think he's motivated to assert himself as one of the top players, or number one, for what it's worth, in the world. But number one, not because a system says he's number one, but number one because everyone looks at it, which is what we're doing now, right? When we look at players, we're judging them based upon the weight of evidence and not the weight of numbers, because the numbers are missing so much. So we look at a player right now and go, yeah, that player's clearly number one. It was like when John Rahm was on his tear before he ascended to the top. And we were like, he's clearly the number one player. We don't need an algorithm to tell us. Which it wasn't. And remember, John Rahm for a while was angry. He was like, geez, I'm doing all this stuff. Look at my finishes, and you're telling me I'm not the best player in the world? Love that bravado. Love that kind of rage from him. He's another one I think people are sleeping on. Tell you the truth. So
I have another question. Can I ask another question?
Yeah, what?
It's what I call heart attack pick. Okay? Based on Jordan Spieth. Here's the question. The question is, how many guys in this field have equal chance to finish in the top 10 as they do to miss the cut? Which is the Jordan Spieth pick, right? There's just like it's 50-50. He's like finishes third or misses the cut completely. I also think in that category,
Well, wait,
I would probably put Terrell Hatton. I would put Will Zalatoris. I think those two guys are also 50-50. Like, I could see them finishing fourth or just missing the cut completely. Who else would you put in that category of just like heart attack pick? It could go either way, man.
Xander hasn't missed a cut in 2 years, so I'm saying that Xander makes the cut. John Rahm makes the cut. Ludwig, I don't know what's going on with that hurt knee. He's going to speak before the media, so I think that he could be a question of a guy, depending on what's going on, he could miss the cut. Colin Morikawa, I think, is going to factor this week because of his solid ball striking. Just told you, Bryson, I think people are sleeping on him. Wyndham Clark, people are sleeping on him. Max Homa, people are sleeping on him. Justin Thomas, I think he's 50-50, make the cut, miss the cut. Tiger Woods, I think he's 80% likely to miss the cut. Phil Mickelson, I think he's 50-50, make the cut, miss the cut, just from that list alone.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, give me like 2 or 3 guys not named Jordan Spieth that if they won this tournament, you wouldn't be surprised. And if they missed the cut, you wouldn't be surprised at all.
I gave you a couple
already. Who are those guys?
I gave you Sam
Well, I
Burns.
think Jordan Spieth is totally...
So
you think Sam
Jason
Burns
Day.
is that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. How do
It's
you
a
think
major
Jason Day's
championship.
clothes
We've
are going to
got-
hold up in the weather?
That's what I'm going to say. We got a major championship. We got crazy weather coming, but we don't have crazy winds coming. So I think it's going to be a scoring fest that's going to be built on a foundation of patience. That's
So
going
I'm
to be
going to the
critical
bottom
part.
of the odds now, Matt. I'm really trying to find that guy that no one has mentioned ever.
What's Keegan Bradley's odds?
175 to 1.
Take him every day.
Interesting. Okay. What about someone who's been playing well, like Taylor Pendrith? He's on form. Does that play a role?
Yeah, it plays a role. I mean, this is his first bite at this apple, so I'm not. It'd be extraordinary if he did it, but maybe he broke through on the PGA Tour and feels like that this is his next threshold. I wouldn't hold my breath for that. It's not likely, but it's certainly possible.
Okay. Well, I'm excited about it. I don't even know what to say about it. major championships make me get goosebumps. And every now and again, right? Like with everything's going on in golf, it might be 5 days before, right? Like middle of last week. And you're just not feeling it. You're like, I just don't know if maybe this is the one I don't care about. Maybe I'm just not feeling it. But then like Sunday and then like Monday rolls around, like yesterday comes and the week is here and you're just like jacked up, man. Man, it's a major. It's here. Never mind. I was crazy last week. What was I thinking? This is going to be great. So it's all hope. It's all hope. So much hope, Matt.
Well, it's entertainment. It's
every major is like the beginning of the NFL season. Everybody can win the Super Bowl. It's great.
It is great. You saw the news. Jimmy Dunn resigned from the board. Jimmy Dunn he's kind of like a golf insider, I guess is the way that I would phrase it, right? Very well known, very well liked financier. I believe he's kind of the straw that stirs the drink at Seminole. And so he, and I think it was Dan Rappaport that put out his resignation letter, that he was resigning immediately from the board. And that's a quote, resigning effective immediately, end quote, from the board. And what was interesting about it was, he was one of the people that was initially dispatched to do the tour's bidding to Public Investment Fund. And then he was asked to address, I think, that Senate committee, if memory serves me. Right? Got a lot of heat for all that, blah, blah, blah. So he resigns. And, you can resign from anything that you want. But he resigned and he wrote a letter. Which generally, if you're gonna quit anything, if you're gonna quit where you work or whatever, and you go out the door with the attitude of, you guys don't know how much you'll miss me until I'm gone. But if you write a letter, to me that means you've got some stuff simmering, and that's really kind of the sting in the tail, right? And he wrote, as part of his resignation letter, quoting again, since the players now outnumber the independent directors on the board and no meaningful progress has been made towards a transaction with the PIF, I feel like my vote and my role is superfluous, at close quote. I'm getting these quotes from an article written by Rex Hoggart at NBCSports.com/golf. Right, that's a pretty good shot right there, where he's saying, I'm trying to interpret the words. And I believe the message is, look, I did what I was supposed to. I got this whole conversation started here. And nothing's happened. It's stalled. And the significance of what I'm telling you right now is that here we had Peter Malnati on just a couple days ago. And Peter was like, yeah, we don't know what the future of the game's going to be. Okay? Then we have a guy that's on the board that's like, no meaningful progress has been made towards a transaction with the PIF. That's a direct quote. That's not an interpretation. That's exactly what he wrote. The guy on the inside. No meaningful progress has been made towards a transaction. And so I started doing a lot of research and getting a lot of opinions and trying to get inside information from different people. And it seems as though there was a faction, a mentality that said, well, wait a minute. If you're talking about getting money from PIF, why don't we look at other potential sources of bringing in investment dollars? And they did. $1.5 million from the SSG. And as they keep saying, it's always followed by $1.5 billion. It's always followed by the caveat that says, and upwards to $3 billion. Don't know exactly what that means. And when we're talking about finances at this level, it's always somehow split between what we do know and what we don't know, what we're supposed to know, what we were not supposed to know. Like this letter from Jimmy Dunn, I don't know if it was supposed to be out there publicly. I don't know. I don't know where it came from. I know where, from a media standpoint, it appeared. So when he's talking about the the players on the board and that the players had the majority, Tiger Woods, Patrick Cantlay, Peter Malnati, Adam Scott, Jordan Spieth, and Webb Simpson, as well as what they call the liaison director in Joe Ogilvy, and then 6 independent directors. Dunn went on to say, quote, unifying professional golf is paramount to restoring fan interest in repairing wounds left from a fractured game. I've tried my best to move all minds in that direction, close quote. Okay, so if you've tried your best to move all those minds in that direction, and in so doing, apparently did not succeed or not to your satisfaction such that you've decided to leave, it suggests that there are mindsets by majority, interpreting, that want to go in another direction. So again, everything that I'm seeing, some of it claims to be inside information, some of it claims to be or purports to be based upon a preponderance of evidence, which is to say that it seems like Tiger is one of the reasons that they're not moving quickly to a deal with PIF. It seems like Rory has suggested multiple times in multiple ways, though diplomatically, that there's a different mentality where it's the one that he's promoting. Again, we're reading clouds here, but we're trying to put the pieces together. He wants to see more of a global basis to the game of golf. Okay, well, what then could this, if there is another side that Jimmy's alluding to, that Rory's talking about, what would that other side be? What would they represent? Would it then represent a U.S.-centric combined tour, assuming that they want to do a deal, which is a huge assumption, but would it be a U.S.-centric? Okay, well, from that standpoint, how isn't it going to be U.S.-centric anyway? Whereas now you could look at it and go, yeah, but it's 95% U.S.-centric. Okay, so maybe it's not 95%. Maybe it's 75%. Or maybe it's gradual in scale. What I'm saying is I don't understand what's so fearful about the idea of a tour that's looked upon more as a world tour. And there's people that use that and go, oh, wait a minute. What about when they try to do the World Golf Championships and, they're gone. They're not gone because they succeeded, that they were something that everybody was vested in when they tried to do it on a world basis. Okay, you got to pick your spots. I mean, right now we're seeing Australia's going crazy, and the Australian Open hasn't gotten the respect that it's deserved in years. There was a time that was looked upon as right on the verge of another major. The likes of Jack Nicklaus, who was a very U.S.-centric player, would travel down to Australia to play that event. Right? Rory has said everyone's got to give up a little bit. They got to concede a little bit. No one gets 100% of what they want. And I thought that was a really telling and really interesting comment, because aren't we in the position that we're in right now at the game's highest tiers because everybody wants 100%? Because everybody wants what they want only for them? I mean, we're hearing from people that are on the inside saying that you've got people that I just read those names, and they're not negotiating for the constituency that they represent. They're negotiating for them. Numero uno, 100%. So when you get a large amount of investment money coming in from SSG, $1.5 billion and upwards to $3 billion, right? How long will that group be patient with the 100% mentality when they invested that money into what is a now for-profit entity in which, no doubt, they fully expect to see their investment grow not stagnate, and not be meant just to pay out players who feel entitled to that they're entitled to it. So it's really interesting. I also, just as an aside, the idea that and Jimmy was pretty straightforward about it, talking about the players outnumber the independent directors. And I looked at that and said, I don't know how I see that as a bad thing. For one reason is it's clear the players aren't voting as a block. Are the independent directors? I would presume not. I would presume they're making decisions based upon their vast business experience and world experience, and they're making what they feel is the best decision for the balance of all. That's their role. That's their job. The entire conversation about, and there's more and more of it, and there will be more of it now with this, about this idea that the players and the players having a majority, it's being presented in such a way to almost suggest like this is an issue. And it's been odd to me, because for all our lives, we've been told that the PGA Tour belongs to the players. The PGA Tour belongs to the players. Now, there's this new entity, this for-profit entity, in which players, according to a structure of criteria, were given what they're calling grants, in essence, equity in the new entity. But wait a minute, I thought the players owned the PGA Tour. And if the players owned the PGA Tour, and if that is in some way a governance that rides above this new entity, unclear to me, then why wouldn't they have the majority of representation? And I'm not suggesting this to you because I'm agreeing with one faction or another. I've already given you some comments, hopefully, to balance against a mentality of circling in the wagons instead of opening them up. But having said that, there's no indication that I've seen that the players are of one mindset. So it illustrates a few things. One is that the game at its top tier continues to be defined more by chaos than any sort of definitive direction that they're working on. We're told that they're working on things. There has been some, Rory made some comments that seem to imply that the window of opportunity to get a deal done with PIF may be closing. I'm curious about that. Is that because of offense? Or is that because the PIF side's looking at it going, you guys got to straighten your own house out before you want us to move in with you? And then the whole thing, the Rory stuff, which led to this whole conversation about whether he's playing with a chip, this whole idea of, and it's in this article. This is what Rex writes. When asked why he wasn't reinstalled on the board, McIlroy said the vote, quote, got pretty complicated and pretty messy, close quote. And a day later, he was asked if his relationship with Woods had been strained because of the politics of a potential deal with PIF. Rory said, this is where I say he was answering diplomatically, I think we can have disagreements. I think that's fine. We had a really good talk last Friday for 45 minutes, just about a lot of different things. So no, there's no strain there. I think we might see the future of golf a little bit differently, but I don't think that should place any strain on a relationship or on a friendship, close quote. So it's, again, to me, it's about the circling of the wagons. If you feel like the money that came in gave you financial stability to weather the storm, first thing you have to ask yourself is, are you the reason for the storm? Because the money that you brought in, will that keep your top players from going to live if they get offered a lot of money? Unlikely, unless you're willing to match that, which you're not, because you'll run out of that money pretty quickly if you did. So it seems like everyone says that a deal is in the best interest of the game and its long-term health. But I'm not sure that's what they're saying behind the scenes. If you look at the schedule of press conferences today, there's a number of people on that list that can weigh in on this. I haven't heard Max Homa say too much about it, to be honest with you. Maybe I've just missed it. But Justin Thomas, I've heard him say basically, and he's in speaking right now as we speak. I've heard him say previously that he thinks, like live players coming back, there should be some kind of penalty or what have you. Tiger is central to this whole thing from everyone we hear. We're told that Jordan Spieth and Patrick Cantlay are part of that Tiger mentality, whatever that is. 12 and 1230. John Rahm was the poster boy because he was the last huge player that went to live. You got Brooks Koepka, who seems like he's just Brooks Koepka. I'm just here to win, which is refreshing too in its own right. This kind of like blah, blah, blah. I'm here to play golf. Xander's at 4 p.m. Of course, Xander is best friends with Patrick Cantlay. So I do think, and on some level I hope, that we get some revelation in some of these questions today. Not to make it dominated by that, because I do think that Matt's right that this should be about the golf this week. But I do think it's fair to ask questions, because when do we have the opportunity to have all these players coming in succession when questions can actually be asked? Although the part of it that's at the very least concerning is that when the people on the inside say they don't know what's happening, how can we on the outside have any clue what's happening? So it is interesting. Anyway, we've got a lot more coming up. We're going to go through it with you again tomorrow as we get ready. And then sitting on the eve of the start of the 2024 PGA Championship at Valhalla. Hope you guys have a great Tuesday. Looking forward to your company again tomorrow. Until then, be well. Goodbye for now.